I'm setting up my dad's old radial arm saw in my shop. And they have a bad reputation because they were made back in the day without all the built-in safety features of today's table and miter saws. But with the right precautions, they are fine to use, and I'm excited to use it. This is a beast. It's been around forever, and it's going to keep on going well beyond me. I'm going to set it up for ripping, so let's give it a go. So I've got to tighten this table down. It's seen better days, so I'm going to use this a little while longer, and then I will put a new tabletop on here. A lot of people will get 2 sheets of plywood, glue them together, and then put a thin piece on top that can be a sacrificial piece, because you are going to have to go down into the wood a little bit in order to have a nice clean cut through your piece that you're actually cutting. I did pick up a new fence, so I'm going to brad that, couple brads to the back. Make sure that has a nice 90-degree angle. And then I have another tabletop piece that goes in the back here, and that will be tightened against the fence with these screws. It's super important to have a sharp blade, and this is a nice new one. It is a Freud industrial thin kerf blade. If you compare these two, for example, you can see that this kerf is wider than on this new blade. A thin kerf blade means that you have less blade going through the wood, so therefore you have more rip power, and it reduces cutting load on the motor. This is a combination blade, so it has a large gullet, and that's good for removing wood waste as you cut. This combination blade pairs flat teeth with alternating top bevel teeth. You'll hear folks say that for a radial arm saw you should have a negative rake or a negative hook, like -5 or 6 degrees. You won't find that in a combination blade. You can find that in a dedicated rip blade. Keep in mind, however, they have a lower tooth count, and you're more likely to have kickback if it ever caught on the wood. To access the blade, we have to take off this guard. So there's a screw right here. Loosen it up enough. Comes right out. And that lifts off. To remove your blade, you want to grab the back side with a crescent wrench. Lock that in place so your blade won't turn. Usually it's righty-tighty, but not. Thank you. Sometimes it's gonna call in the big guns. Before we cover the blade, we want to make sure that this is perpendicular 90 degrees to the table. If it were not, you have these 4 screws here, which will allow you to loosen this up, and you can actually change the angle a little bit. There we go. Wiggle that in there. This is adjustable for a reason. I'll show you in a second. You've got a washer and then this cool nut, which is adjustable so that you can move your guard. When you're doing rip cutting, you've got to rotate your blade so it lines up with the fence because you're going lengthwise. So to rotate, there's a lever over here, you pull forward and you lift up your latch wherever that is on your saw. This would be out ripping. So if your blade were facing you, that's an out rip. And remember, the blade always spins this way. Well, when you're ripping on a radial arm saw, you want to go against the blade. So your piece of wood will be coming from this side if you're out ripping. And I'm gonna lock my carriage at 2 inches. And just check the other side. 2 inches. So this is out ripping. And if you were to outrip, in my opinion, it's a little more dangerous because your blade is out towards your body. You do have this guard. So if you're out ripping, you're going from left to right across the tabletop. Again, you're going against the spin of the blade. So you come in from this direction. When you first hit this wood, it's going to want to pick it up. But you have this nice guard, and you can lower it down just a hair above the piece of wood. And when it goes to pick it up, it will hit that, and you just proceed to slide it through. That's a really nice feature. So in ripping is when you put your blade again, parallel to the fence, but it's on the inside towards the fence. In that case, you have to feed your wood from this direction. And again, you lower your guard down as close as possible. Now, normally, a radial arm saw has an anti-kickback device that slides down through here, and there's a hook, and it will help grab the piece of wood in case there's kickback. But honestly, if you're feeding from the correct direction, your chances of kickback are minimal. I am also installing these board buddies. I'm getting my board buddies ready for installation. These are anti-kickback. They're like pals. So they only rotate one direction. This is model 1104, and it only rotates this way. So your wood's coming out under the blade going that direction, but it does not go the opposite direction, so it catches it. And here's one that I've almost got installed. So what I did, instead of buying, they sell a track that you can install these on an auxiliary fence behind your fence. I don't want to spend the money. So I'm just putting these on a couple of blocks and building them up. And I will install these. As far as these board buddies go, you want to position them not closer than, an inch from the blade. You don't want the blade ever coming in contact with these. So I'm going to probably put mine right here so it will grab the wood when it comes out from under the saw, and then I'll have one on the other side for when it feeds in. Replace it when you need to. There. One board buddy set up. Important, you want to have even pressure up against the fence and towards the blade, but you don't want to be standing behind your workpiece. This came with one of an inexpensive miters. Well, as inexpensive as they come, I guess, miter saw, and it's adjustable. So I'm just gonna throw this on here. While I'm using this, because since you have this blade cover, you're gonna get a lot of wood and dust collection up through here. And I'll just gather it in that little bag and then get rid of it. Now, once you've got your blade set up, it's going to be stationary. It's going to stay in this position. So you'll want to adjust it to whatever width of cut you're going to do, and then screw it down on the carriage side. I've got it where I want it. I'm going to tighten down this carriage because we do not want this entire mechanism moving at all when you're cutting. So make sure that's tight. You do need to lower your blade because the blade needs to go just into this tabletop surface. Because if it doesn't go all the way through your workpiece, you're gonna have a problem. When you're doing any length of wood, you really should have an out table. I don't have an in table, so I'm going to make do with a ladder. But if you're ever handling a large piece, you might want to use a table saw because they usually have very large tables. But you need support at both ends, or you should have support at both ends. And then I have my out table. So let's give this a go. That's great. I really liked using the Radial arm saw for ripping. It works so good. So tell me what you think. Have a great day, folks.